the UFC is not done announcing some crazy news for the future UFC events coming up. They just unloaded a bunch of fights for the UFC 290 card, International Fight Week. I believe it is July 8th. We got a lot of interesting fights here. They gave us all the main events yesterday, and they're like, well, we got 3 more fights ready for you. A pretty bombshell fight, too. We have Dricus Du Plessis versus Robert Whittaker. We have Robbie Lawler versus Nico Price, and Jalin Turner versus Dan Hooker. So we have some pretty crazy fights going on here. Absolutely insane. This UFC 290 card is actually looking really good now. I was a little worried that they were kind of done filling up the main card, but the main card looks really nice here. Let's just run through it. I'm going to do some news breakdowns and who I think I'll kind of win and kind of edge it a little bit. I'm so excited. I get a bunch of new matchups I can make for my videos, so I won't run out because we have a week off coming up, but I'll just get right into the news. We have Robert Whittaker versus Dricus Du Plessis for the UFC 290 card. I believe it is the main card. It would make sense. I believe it's probably up there too. We have, what do we have? We have Volkanovski versus Rodriguez. We have Moreno versus Pinto, and I believe it would probably be Whittaker versus Dricus right under that. And then probably Jalin Turner and then Hooker. And then maybe they put Bo Nickel on the main card. But this fight is actually pretty insane. I think Whittaker will definitely win this one. Dana White did say that whoever wins this fight does get the title shot next, and it will be targeted for Sydney, Australia, which is very important. I don't know. I just see Whittaker winning this fight. I think Dricus does get pretty messy on the feet. I think his cardio is actually going to be definitely way improved here, so maybe his technique will be a little bit better, but he just throws really weird punches. I assume he's going to mix it in a little bit more here. It is a 3-round fight, so Whittaker's not going to be more patient. He's just going to unload on Dricus. Can you imagine if Dricus like catches Whittaker in this matchup? I'm super excited. I really like Dricus Du Plessis. Obviously, he's not the best technical fighter in the world, especially in the middleweight division, but it is the middleweight division, let's be real. But Dricus did say he was getting his nose fixed, so I'm believing that his cardio is going to be a little bit better here. He's not going to be breathing out of his mouth. He kind of has like, I always say in my videos, he kind of has like that extra tank. Like he looks tired, but he's still fine in there. But his gas tank will be better in this matchup, and I think this will actually be a little bit more competitive. I think Dricus is just a weird fighter. I think he'll just keep going. He doesn't really care about what's going on, but I think Whittaker does win this fight. Probably, maybe Dricus steals around here. I don't know. Whittaker KOs him. I think his cardio will be fine, but I'm gonna go Whittaker by a 3rd round TKO. But I am gonna be, I don't want to say I'm rooting for Dricus, but I'm hoping this is gonna be a very fun fight. I'm going to put my expectations a little bit lower, and I'm going to hope that Dricus just comes out there firing, just doesn't care if he gets KO'd and just goes after Whittaker. That would be super fun. So it's mixing in some takedowns. I think this matchup is going to be really fun. I think it's going to be a lot better than some people think. I really believe Dricus is actually like a decent fighter. I think if you're looking towards more of a similar matchup to this, maybe you say like Soldic versus Dricus Du Plessis 2 or something, where that's like the extreme where Whittaker just beats his ass the whole time. Or you can say like the first fight where they just start scrapping in the middle. But I think this one is actually going to be a really fun fight. I'm going to keep my expectations low, but I'm really hoping this one's going to be super fun. I do think Whittaker does win this one, probably by a late TKO. I think he just eventually, he'll probably just catch him with like a high kick or something and then just TKO him on the ground. Dricus will probably be like all out of it. But I am going to go with Whittaker probably by like a 2nd or 3rd round TKO in this matchup. But I think it is going to be very fun. I don't think Dricus is too scared about getting KO'd. I think he'll go after it in this one. Next matchup that was made for the UFC 290 card, we have Jalin Turner versus Dan Hooker. I believe this fight was supposed to be made for what, the UFC 286 or UFC 285 card, I think. It was UFC 285. Instead, Mateus Gamrot went in there because Dan Hooker pulled out. So this fight is being remade for the UFC 290 card. I am going to go with Jalin Turner. He has prepared for this fight a couple times. He is very active. He's been very active, at least from right now to the next fight that we have right here for UFC 290. So he's been a lot more active. Dan Hooker did have to pull out the fight, so we don't know if it was necessarily an injury. I think it was an injury that he did pull, which is why he did pull out from the fight. But I am going to go with Jalin Turner. I think he's going to be faster. He's got more power on the feet. Maybe he gets a standing TKO finish over Dan Hooker in this matchup, but we'll see what Dan Hooker looks like. He got Claudio Puelles in his last fight, and he kind of just destroyed him there. So he's still a decent fighter. He hasn't fallen off completely after he lost to Michael Chandler, after he lost to Arnold Allen, moving down a weight class, and he moved up, beat up Claudio Puelles, and then basically how that was there. Well, he lost to Islam Makhachev in there too, but He's definitely on a little bit of a momentum, if you want to say it that way, but I'm going to go with Jalin Turner here. I think he's just going to be better on the feet. Going to be a little bit more faster at the hands and going to have a little bit more power. I think he's just going to beat him up. Maybe a decision 30-27, or I think he just eventually TKOs him, just with just how much power Jalin Turner has, and just eventually just TKOs him on the feet. Maybe submission, standing guillotine, kind of like Brad Riddell or something. I don't know. Something along the lines of that. I do think he does win this fight, though. So next matchup on the card, we have Robbie Lawler versus Nico Price being made. This is going to be a super fun fight. You guys know how Nico Price is. He did lose his last fight to Philip Rowe, I think is how. I think he lost to Philip Rowe. I may be incorrect there. But he did lose to Philip Rowe. I believe Robbie Lawler did lose his last fight as well against Barberena, I want to say. I believe he lost to Barberena. I may be a little bit wrong there. I'm just going to keep talking until I find this matchup. But yeah, he did lose to Barberena by standing TKO. And I believe Nico Price did lose to Philip Rowe in his last matchup by KO as well. So I don't know who to necessarily go with this one. Robbie Lawler is how old? 41 years old. Durability is in question a little bit there. Nico Price is a little bit older, but I do think he gets this one done. He's been in a lot of these wars, so I'm expecting him to do pretty well in that kind of environment. Robbie Lawler definitely looked better in his last fight against Barberena. I think he won like the first round, was landing some really good shots. Unlike that Nick Diaz fight where he looked really slow. I don't know what the hell happened in that fight, but he looked decent in that Barberena fight. I think Nico Price gets it done. Maybe standing TKO again for Robbie Lawler in a loss here. I don't know. I think I'm going to go Nico Price. I think it's going to be a scrap. I think he just gets it done, though. I think he's just going to be more durable than Robbie Lawler in this matchup. So that's what I have for the news today. This is very, very fun card, at least so far as what we're looking at. Hopefully no one pulls out. I'm going to knock on wood for that one. But let me know who you guys think will win in these matchups down below, and I'll see you guys next time.